Hey everybody, this is Jason. Before we get started, just wanted to point out, as with the last episode with Jen Bartlett, the board game librarian, we did not have an optimal sound setup, so the sound, especially my voice, did not come out the way we wanted it to. We will definitely get back to proper audio quality next week, so we apologize for that, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Welcome to Every Night is Game Night, your home for heavy strategy, awesome theme, and everything in between. Check us out along with other great podcasts at dicetowernetwork.com.
Every Night is Game Night, episode 87, Bad Games.
Bad games.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Every Night is Game Night. This is episode 87, and with you once again is Anthony and Jason.
Yo, my peoples, what is up?
And joining us again for another episode is Jen Bartlett. She's on Board Game Breakfast with her segment From the Page to the Table. Welcome back, Jen.
You poor people get to listen to me again. I'm really sorry. It's Jason's fault for inviting me on. Hello! Welcome, podcast people. You're awesome for listening.
There you go. It's funny because a little while ago, this is not Jen's first appearance on the podcast. We recorded a short clip with Jen in our spoiler section of our Charterstone review.
Oh, yes! Yeah, I'm that person, people. Hello.
Deep cuts.
And if you didn't hear that episode because you're avoiding spoilers, Jen gave her honest opinion of Charterstone, which was really funny. And it got us. And we've had a couple of requests of we either like a game or we kind of say we didn't like it so much, but somebody else could like it. This is a collection of games that we just don't like, and people have been asking for it. They want us to launch into some negative reviews of games. We're gonna get it out of our systems right now, right, Anthony?
Yes. And this started because I got stuck playing this game at a game night a few weeks back, and I was just like, I think you asked, what did you play this week? And I'm like, oh, let me tell you. Oof.
All right, so before we get into the fun, we are going to throw it over to the segment that we are now calling In Liz We Trust. So hopefully Liz will be telling us about a Kickstarter that does not belong on this list of bad games. What do you got for us, Liz?
Hey gamers, this is Liz Davidson from Beyond Solitaire, and I'm here to encourage your Every Night's Game Night acquisition disorder. This week I want to talk about Skull Tales Full Sail, a game by David Iescas that is all about adventuring on the high seas. You can play one of several different characters. I am personally delighted by the prospect of playing as a red-headed pirate woman who is wearing actual clothes. You can also choose whether to play a one-off scenario or an overarching campaign. The game is divided into chapters, and each chapter will consist of a voyage phase in which players navigate and manage their ships, an adventure phase in which you will explore, fight, and pillage, and a port phase where you rest, improve your ship, and keep your ears open for juicy rumors. At $106 plus shipping, the price on this one is steep. But if you're looking for a solo playable, Ameritrashy pirate game, it may be worth a look. I am still deciding whether to back it, but interestingly, AJ Porfirio has recommended this game even though it's not being published by Van Ryder Games. AJ caters to solo players and knows a good game when he sees one, so his endorsement has definitely caught my attention. Happy gaming, you scurvy sea dogs.
All right, thank you. Once again, in Liz We Trust, we have no idea what Liz is talking about, but I'm sure it is better than what we're going to talk about right now. So, anyway, we're going to get to these games in a second. We're going to have some things to say after we cover these games about doing these kinds of reviews, bad reviews. People like them. They get more hits generally. When Tom Vassal and some other folks really light into a game, it's like, ooh, did you hear this review and everything? So we're gonna, give you your red meat, say some stuff about some games, and then talk about a little bit about why our approach to them and what we think about doing bad reviews like that. But since Anthony is the first one to launch on this kind of concept, let's get into what he has to say about this board game, which you were looking forward to, right, man?
Yeah. So this got pulled out at a game night, and I had never gotten a chance to play it. It's The Witcher, designed by Ignacio Trevicek, and released by Fantasy Flight Games. So I think its full title is The Witcher Adventure or something. But it's a board game version of the Witcher video game series, right? I've played the video games, loved them, read some of the short stories, the original ones, love those. Very much looking forward to the Netflix series. It's an IP that I think is cool.
Netflix series? Sorry, you're going to be so sad you ever invited me on. I was like, what? Like a cat. What?
Yeah, next year, I think. But the board game is all the things you like about those other things, not there, right? It's okay. So it's an adventure game right off the bat, which is not usually my bag, but I was like, thematically I like it, and it's Ignacy, and I like most of his games, so maybe he's got kind of a Euro-y spin to this. And I'll just run through real quick how the game plays. You are one of 4 characters in the game, and each of the characters has 5 actions. You're going to move, you're going to investigate, which is getting cards, develop, which is getting special skills, rest is rest, and then you have some kind of special ability based on your class. So everybody has their own special one. If you're Geralt, you're brewing potions. If you're Triss, you're preparing spells. You get the deal. On your turn, you take 2 actions of those things listed, as long as they are still available, because there's all sorts of things that are going to happen to you that take these abilities away from you, which is awesome. You're going to spend most of your time moving, and some adventure games do this, and it's fine because maybe you're finding things on the map or uncovering or discover, there's some level of exploration. This game has 0 exploration. You're just going from various points to other various points that are color-coded to match up to certain types of tokens you need. You get these tokens, then you turn these tokens into larger tokens once you get enough of them, and then you spend these larger tokens to complete quests. Ugh.
Sorry, I was nodding off.
Yeah. There's a ton of flavor text. Like if you've played any of these adventure games from FFG, they load their cards down with flavor text. And so the quest cards, you read them and it sounds like, oh, this should be fun and interesting. But really at the end of the day, all it is go get these tokens. And it takes forever to do it. Have fun. And you have to complete something like 3 or 4 of these quests to finish the game. So the box said, I think 2 hours. And whoever taught the game was like, yeah, it's like 90 minutes, 2 hours. I don't know how that's ever possible. Like we played for close to 2 hours and not even close. So
you didn't even finish. You just called it.
Yeah, because the coffee shop we were at closed. And I mean, someone was at 3. The game, nothing new was coming out of this game. And it's not like an incomplete play of the game. It was just like, it's another hour of this exact same thing.
Yeah.
The combat is, again, typical FFG stuff. You've got swords and boards on your dice that you're going to use to defeat enemies. There are some special faces on a few of the different types of dice, depending on what type of character you have, what other abilities you pulled out. And the enemies are in these 3 different levels, so you are very, it does vary, like who you're facing and how hard they are. There's various obstacles as well. But honestly, the reason I don't like it, like I said, moving around so much, and you really are just trying to move out of areas where monsters are going to activate that you can't face yet and into ones where you can, but maybe that's not where you want to be. It's boring. It's very boring. And then the investigation, where you get to draw these cards, is actually slightly more interesting, but it's not always fun. So some of the blue cards in the game give you traits that you can stack together for sets. Some of the purple cards have these different bonuses, and then give you extra stuff if you discard things. And then there are these setback cards that just do mean things to you. So you might draw one card that's like, oh, you have +2 of this random token, which is great because they're hard to get. And then the next one is discard 2 tokens. Okay. So I just took 2 actions and they both negated each other, and now I get to wait 15 minutes while everybody else goes. That was fun. The development card, same thing. You upgrade your combat abilities, you upgrade your abilities, you get new spells and potions and all this stuff. But guess what? Some of those investigation cards and some of the other bad cards that come out from the central deck can get rid of those cards. So you can spend all this time building up your development cards and finally getting to the point where you have some kind of engine to do something. and then they get nuked. It's yeah. I just don't feel like it makes. I understand having bad things happen in a game, especially an adventure game, especially in this theme. You need to have it, but you also need to have. You can't just like pummel people into the ground in a 3-hour game, and maybe I could recover, but at a certain point it's just boring, and I don't want to do it anymore. There's just tremendous amount of randomness. We all know Ignacy loves his randomness, but in this particular case, the mechanisms around that aren't particularly fun. So it's not really adding any interest or spin to this that I think is particularly fun. Also, it's a competitive game, so someone else might get good cards, you might get bad cards. Great. So,
it's competitive?
Yeah, so like I'm describing all this and you're thinking, oh, it's a co-op. Well, that's fine. You all balance each other out. No. It's competitive. So if you get 5 tokens or 5 development cards and those all get nuked and someone else still has all theirs, great. That's so much fun. Yeah, I don't know. If you really love The Witcher, might be worth just seeing what it is. There's an app for this. You don't need to go like pay a bunch of money for the board game. I think you can get the app for $3 or $4, but I don't even think you'd like it then. And I'm not like a super huge Witcher fan. I haven't put 300 hours into the game or anything, but it's knowing the characters and knowing the world, I still was just thoroughly bored. So
you have this game, right, Jen?
Yeah, so we recently brought it. We've gone through a huge purge in our house, and it made the cut. And I would agree with you, Anthony, too. I don't think adventure games are our wheelhouse either. I think we keep wanting to like them, just like pick up and deliver. Oh man. But yeah, even at 2 players, you can go 3+ hours. So the last time we played it, we were like, do we just want to call it? And yeah, the bad stuff to me always happened at the worst times. Like, you'd have the most awesome stuff and be almost able to finish the stupid quest you've been working on, and it would get just obliterated. And the monsters, I felt like, weren't always super balanced very well. I don't know.
It's bad.
It just, what we've been saying a lot lately is, it's for someone, it's not for us. I wonder how it would be at solo.
Yeah, I know. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to check it out, because I know it was possible. And I'm like, well, that could be interesting. And those games do tend to destroy you, and you're more okay with that because other people aren't getting good stuff while you get horrible stuff. But I don't know. Like, I'm not a huge adventure game guy, but like I play Runebound, and I'm maybe not the biggest lover of a game like that, but I'm like, this is a good game. I enjoy it when I play it. I'm probably not going to play it very often, but I can appreciate it. But in this case, I just don't know how it missed so bad. Like, you've got 3 good things, the designer, the publisher, and the theme, and it just doesn't mesh. I don't know why.
Yeah, I'd agree. And fun fact about the author, whose name is escaping me. Well, we'll leave a space if Jason wants to insert it.
Future Jason will take care of it.
Here. Thank you, Jason. The guy's a rock star in Poland. Like, people love him. When The Witcher is huge there. My husband's a huge Witcher fan, who's probably done the 300 hours you were referring to earlier. And I like watching it. But I'm not even sure if you're a huge Witcher fan that it would save this game for you. It just a big... I think we were trying to convince ourselves it was good and that we liked it. And we're just like, nope. Stop lying to yourself.
You just have the 4 main characters and then the locations on the map and then maybe a few references in the cards, but it's not even like that much of The Witcher is in this. No. It's pretty abstract considering what kind of game it is.
Mm.
All right, so that was The Witcher adventure game. We are going to continue piling on witches for some reason. It just kind of worked out this way. So the next game we're going to talk about is Witches of the Revolution. This was an Origins release last year. I considered putting it on my my preview that we did last year for Origins games. It's a cooperative deck builder. I like cooperative games. I like deck builders. I like funky themes. So I'm like, this one might be one to look out for. There's Lookout is probably a very apt description for this game. There's probably a reason why you're not hearing too much about it, but let me run through it real fast. So yeah, like I said, cooperative deck builder. The theme is witches in an alternate history who, instead of like getting burned by the stake or whatever it is, they're actually, trying to help the revolutionaries. So you have like Thomas Jefferson and George Washington kind of floating around. I had to like I've played the game a couple of times, and I had to literally look at the book again to remind myself what the heck this theme is. It literally is theme soup. Just, Thomas Jefferson's head just kind of floats into and out of the game. Still not really sure what it does. So thematically, this game I feel like it's a disaster. Like, it just doesn't know what it wants to be. It's like, okay, I want to be cool. I want to put in like things that are unusual and everything, but it just ends up being a giant kind of disjointed soup. I think there's something about the deck builder genre. Like, deck builders, it's tough. You have to really try hard to integrate theme into a deck builder. Like, think of Dominion, the classic one, which, is there's a theme there? Don't think so. You kind of have to have other elements in order to do an effective theme integration into a deck builder. This one doesn't quite have it. It has a board, but it doesn't really make too much difference. So mechanically, the game works a little bit like Dragonfire, which we reviewed before, and which is a game that I like, in the sense that like you're not flying through the deck. You're making very small upgrades to the deck, and the way it works is very Dragonfire-esque, where the combat, quote-unquote, like you have these challenges that pop up at every turn in a river, so they're kind of flowing along the bottom of the board, and you're symbol matching. So I wish I knew what exactly that symbol matching meant, but you're matching symbols. Okay, this thing needs 5 cups and 4 cat paws. It's like, all right, great. Does my deck have 5 cups and 4 cat paws? No? Oh, it's too bad. No. So we finally construct our deck to have the 5 cups and 4 cat paws or whatever it is, and then no other challenge will come out that now all of a sudden your deck is like there and you can't do anything about it because the challenges have just kind of come out randomly. Really frustrating. Also, you can't fly through the deck like in a classic deck builder, turning over your deck multiple times, seeing how strong you can make your deck. You're actually penalized for flying through the deck. So, you pick up your card, when you buy a card from the market, which is basically more symbols. Your starting cards have 2 symbols. You buy 4 symbols. Great. Exciting. And, you might it has that ascension problem, right? What is ascension? Ascension, you might construct your deck to do a lot of combat, then no combat comes out in the river. So you might construct your deck one way, and it's like, okay, oh, too bad. The game's random. It's just got carried you in a different direction. And, it'll make you discard randomly. Ugh. Bad theme. I think really flat mechanics. Jen, you've played this game with me a couple of times. This game is horrible. If you defend this game, then I really have doubts about your taste in gaming. I'm sorry.
Well, so what, Jason? I don't know that you mentioned this. There's a couple of twists on a classic deck builder, which I do really like, and I realize most of them are themeless. They're just mechanics. I don't mind that you get penalized for going through your deck. I don't mind that.
All right.
I also don't mind the fact that when you buy a card, it goes to the top of your deck. There's always this grumbling. I hear massive grumbling from people about deck builders that, they buy this card and then they may never see it, right? That's a huge complaint about deck builders. You see this card because you put it around on top of your deck. But yeah, to buy said card, you're going to have to call your deck with the cards that you use to purchase it. Again, I also like that. I don't mind the artwork. There's people who hate the artwork. I don't care. I feel like it's American Revolution-esque. Yeah, it's not.
Is it a good game? Put it that way.
No.
Thank you.
But
glowing it.
Enough said.
I mean, I did a written review for it right after Gen Con. Because of the different things for it, that it wasn't just another Dominion, which a game I strongly dislike, copycat of sorts, that it was trying to do different things at least, and I appreciate that. I can see where he was going.
So, I mean, well, think of it in terms of context. Like, there's so many deck builders out there. People are loving on Marvel Legendary, for the thematic and the integration of it. I just mentioned Dragonfire, which nails that kind of strategic symbol matching, but in a very tactical way because the threats are static. So you can build your deck nice and slow, just like in this game, you immediately get the card basically, but you can pretty much predict what you're going to use it for. Aeon's End I think it's probably the best one in terms of like solving that problem of cards that you don't get to use because you can manipulate the order of your deck, you can store the cards, whatever it is. There's so many ways around that. I just feel like this game does none of that. The theme is soupy. Ugh. There's always that point in Tom's reviews where he just kind of like says everything he doesn't like the game, and then he like takes a big breath. I'm at this point. So please avoid this game at all costs. Jen has some good things to say about it, but still can't say it's a good game. To me, that says everything you need to know about Witches of the Revolution. Sorry, it's going to be a hard pass for me. We are now going to have Jen talk about one of your guys' quote-unquote favorite games.
Oh, man.
Which, by the way, is not a natural solo, but I'm looking at the forums and that people are talking about, oh, wow, we can actually make this and a bot and everything, so...
Yeah, I suppose if I hadn't encountered and played this game, Charterstone would have maybe... My husband's laughing and cringing over here. All right, so
this game is Shipwrights of the North Sea.
So, okay. So, I was really excited when I heard Renegade picked this up because it had been kind of ridiculously hard to find here in the States. And Raiders in the North Sea had gotten excellent praise. It had been nominated for a Spiel, hadn't it? And, we like worker placement, and we do really like Raiders. Love the mechanic in it where you're putting down a worker and then you're picking up a worker. Great components. The artwork on it is fantastic. Maybe some of my favorite artwork in a Viking game. Then we played Shipwrights. All right. So I've never in the 7 years of gaming with my husband had him turn to me and say, I want to punt this game out the back door. Like hardcore loathe the game. And I'm sorry, Renegade. We love your stuff. I love Extra Libris. Of course, right? Clank, you guys, but this game is just, I don't know why okay, so it's got drafting in it. It's got, some engine building going on in it. It's got these adorable animal meeples, and I wish I had sourced the game for the meeples. We ended up selling it, to this poor guy. I hope you're enjoying it, poor dude, because punting going on. And you're building your ships, and there's a certain amount of points, a certain amount of ships, I believe, you need for the end game. We just kept spinning our wheels. We were going, why is this so hard to get this going? Like 5 rounds in, and neither one of us had gotten a ship out to sea. We just keep looking at each other. We can't get our workers going. We're like, okay, well, let's take a breather. Let's go through the rules again. Maybe we missed something. No. It just...
Have you played any of the Raiders or the Shipwright games, Anthony?
No, I haven't. So I'm just...
Is there any anything like? I mean, Raiders was like a big game. Is there any draw? Because I mean, it's like a kind of a light, medium-ish Euro. Any draw to that one?
Yeah, I mean, I got a quick demo of it, last year at the cons, and it seemed fine. I mean, it's just there's so many of those games that are in that kind of light, medium, worker placement-ish space, and I'm sure I'd like it. I just haven't gotten it out.
So Raiders was nominated for a Spiel. I mean, and that's what got Renegade to kind of pick this up. What is this game? Where does this game go so wrong?
The drafting too. I think part of it starts in the drafting, because to build these ships, you need maybe a craftsman or a weaver or a boatsman, and you just keep drafting these cards, and the entire game may go by, and you may never get a weaver.
Well, there you
go. You may never get a boatsman, and you've wasted space and time trying to craft this stupid ship, and and you're just getting more and more frustrated, and there's like a stupid limit on the amount of resources you can cap on too, and the amount of workers. So it's not even like you could maybe kind of work towards, having 10 sheep or 10 whatever. It's like 10 total. So even getting your big mama ships out was getting more and more ridiculous. We gave it 3 heroic efforts, really 3. We tried so hard, and again, it was a blizzard. It was blizzard in February, and I'm really surprised my husband didn't open up our condo window, and our game room's on the 3rd floor. It was going to be a long fall to the pavement for Shipwrights in the North Sea, and like you said, punt it. I have never seen him. Well, we recently played Drop Mix too. That's another rant on that.
Have you ever gotten suckered into another game? So like you play one game and then here's another game in the line and just like, oh my God, I went too far.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's something similar that I've gone down this path with before. Not off the top of my head, no. But I mean, there's certainly been like designers who are like, oh, I love all their games, and you finally get to one, you're like, what the heck is this?
Yeah. What happened?
It was going so well.
Yeah. Although, yeah.
All right. So, I mean, it's always fun, I guess, on some level to get your, let some steam off about playing these bad games. If you're stuck there for 2 hours, at least you get, some belly aching to your friends out of the way. That's a little bit entertaining. But so the question is, why don't we do this more often? Like, we've gone 87 episodes at this point, and we haven't just done a whole launching, crying about, all these terrible games we play. And believe me, Anthony and I play more terrible games than we talk about on the pod.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So the question is, why? I really wanted to address this because every once in a while, a thread will come up, especially on BGG. I think BGG is probably worse with this than a lot of other places, talking about why, we can't trust reviewers, right? They're shills. They always talk about how great games are. They're always so positive. I can't trust them or whatever it is. They talk about people who give bad reviews, and they say one of 2 things. They say, one, bad reviews are entertaining. It's fun to listen to people just belly aching and griping or whatever it is, and banging their heads against the box on the video or punting it out the window, like Jen was talking about. So that's entertaining. And I guess the other part is this kind of, a bad review is people take it as evidence of their objectivity. It's like, okay, they've said some bad stuff about some games. We can trust them now. So I wanted to kind of have a little bit of a conversation about that because, me and Anthony, we really try hard to play the games, a lot, give not just talk about how we felt about the games, but why, either mechanically or theme wise or whatever it is. So Anthony, why don't we just give bad reviews on this podcast or on our other podcasts more often?
Yeah. I mean, it comes up a lot. People have asked us several times, we'll describe our review, scale on BGA, and people are like, you guys never burn games though. Why is that on the scale? And it's true, but we certainly play games that we would probably burn if we played them more. And that's part of it. We have a limited amount of time, a limited amount of resources, and a lot of games to play. And so if we come across a really bad game, it's rare that I'm going to sit down and play that game multiple more times to feel comfortable reviewing it. And with a bad game in particular, I feel like that's necessary because you don't want to sit down and say, this is awful because of this, and this is awful because of this, and you didn't really play it enough to get a sense of if those things are persistent throughout the game, And so it's easier to say, oh, I love this after playing it the first time and you loved it than to say this is horrible because you had a bad game. And
let me see if it's really as horrible as I think it is. Let me just play this again.
Exactly. Who wants to do that? Don't forget, we're actually gamers, guys. We want to play good games. So I'm much more likely to sit down with a game that I really enjoy and play it, 3, 4, 5 times and then do a review of it here on the podcast than a game I hate and then have to do a review of it, which I'm also going to hate. All hats off to the people who do this professionally and they play so many bad games. I can't even imagine doing that. It would eat my soul.
So recently when you came on board Board Game Breakfast, which wasn't that long ago, Tom had mentioned that you should, like, he said, review games on Board Game Breakfast, but don't be afraid to talk whatever about a bad game. So, like, what was your first thought when you heard that?
Oh, man. Well, being a newbie, too, I feel like there's a fine line you need to cross, right? And the board game community is still really small, I feel like. And, like, everyone knows each other. And even, like, saying bad things about Shipwrights, I feel bad. I felt bad saying bad things about Charterstone, for Pete's sakes.
And Morton, we had Morton Monrad Pedersen on the podcast. He actually asked me, because none of us really, like, love the game. He's like, do you really want to talk with us? You didn't. We're like, no. There were certain parts we really like. So it really does create kind of a ripple with the people we're trying to make relationship with.
Yeah, and again, being so new, it's like you don't want to burn your bridges. For me, what I want to say about reviews is, if I'm not talking about your game, or I haven't posted pictures of it on Instagram, or I'm not bringing it to the library, that's probably not a good thing. So
Silence speaks.
The silence, I'm using my silence as like my review of the bad game. That took a lot of effort to talk about Shipwrights, and it's just, I think there can be so many negatives too, just so many trolls out there too, out in internet land, that I don't want to feed any more into that. I don't want, and we've all seen, did either of you watch Tom Vassel's Feudum review? Mm-hmm. He wasn't sold on it. And like, if you look at some of the comments, people just laying into him. And he gave very well thought out, detailed explanations for why it did not gel with him. And people still,
a great example. Like, that's a game that I've tried to get to the table. I've kind of sort of played through a little bit, and I can't review it, but my initial impressions are like, oof. Like, this is hard. It's hard. Like, it's hard to get into. It's hard to learn. It's hard to teach. It's a lot of stuff. So that's a game where I will probably never review it because I probably will not play it enough to do so. So the fact that he did is impressive.
Yeah.
So okay. So we want to be out there as reviewers, and we want people to take our opinions seriously. So I think we're, just kind of coming up with a counterexample that someone would theoretically want to bring, which is, if you're going to put yourself out there as a reviewer, isn't it incumbent upon you, if you play a game, especially if you get a review copy of a game, which we do, and I'd say the majority of the games that I review are review copies. So like, if you're wondering out there whether I have a review copy and therefore have an incentive to give a better review of the game, I have review copies of basically everything except for FFG because, well, they're FFG. That's just the way it goes. So is it incumbent upon us to give out the bad review if we want to be taken seriously as reviewers and not be labeled as shills?
Yeah. I mean, it's difficult. We can't, here's how I always thought about it. Like, if I ask for a review copy, if I go to a company and say, hey, I'd like to review your game, if you have any copies of the game we can take a look at, then I do feel obligated to do that, to do something with that game and then produce something, whether it's good or bad. And I'm not going to, tell them, oh, I didn't like your game, you still want me to produce it. And like, nope, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be honest. Here you go. If it's unsolicited, or even more so if I paid for it, then I don't feel any such obligation. If I don't enjoy a game, or if I, even more importantly, not the part where I don't enjoy it, but if I just can't get it played, because it's either too bad or it's too tough to get out, or it's the groups that I'm with just aren't willing to play it. That happens sometimes. And when that happens, then the game's not going to get reviewed because I want to be able to play the game enough to be honest about it, and it needs to hit the table for that to happen. But I certainly do my best to make that happen, in all these circumstances.
And I like what you said before, Jen, about like feeling drained by bad reviews. I come at it from this perspective, like, I can go into Witches of the Revolution, but like, so I played it once, didn't like it, and I asked, so Jen owns the game, so I'm like, okay, let's lay it out again just to make sure. That was like, all joking aside, like, that's a bummer. Like, that's a downer. And we don't get paid. And we're doing this out of our passion. And we need to be able to do positive reviews for the most part. We need to be able to really have fun. Like, not just, like, have, like, a mediocre game. Like, we'll be perfectly honest with you guys. We Anthony and I both hit a stretch, like, late last year, early this year, of just, like, not like bad games. There were some bad games, but like mediocre games that we were playing them, and it's like, I don't want to play games anymore. The passion just kind of like dips. And, if you want us to be weekly, and I think we've had success with the weekly format, if you want us to, kind of bring our passion to the games, to the reviews at least, like, we have to be able to sustain ourselves. Like, and it just can't happen that we're playing a bunch of bad games in a row. So, like, if for people who are out there saying, like, oh, you're a show, you never say anything bad about a game, I mean, realize that a lot of the reviewers out there self-select. Undead Viking got in trouble for this. He self-selects all of his games. He'll never review a bad game on his channel. So it's like, oh, he's a shill. That's man, I hate that word. But we're really doing this. I really want to get it out there. Like, we're not just doing this to be shills, to make relationships or whatever it is. We're doing this because, like, we want to self-select better games because we just want to keep doing this. We want to, keep putting stuff out there. We want to maintain that energy. And if we're not doing it, then, like, if we have to, like, say bad things just to, like, prove that we're objective and whatever it is, it's draining. It really is. Like you and Jen, like you mentioned before, like, trolls, like, people who are just causing trouble just to cause trouble, that can really, get you down and just sap the energy from you.
If I'm sitting down at the end of a long day, I want to play something I'm excited to play. Again, I personally don't receive a lot of review copies of anything. So it's like all my money just going out the door. I want to play something that I'm excited to play. I don't want to keep playing bad games over and over and over again because my time's limited, right? I mean, your time is limited. Mm-hmm. Anthony's time is limited. Yeah, and then you add in the time that it takes to put a podcast together, the time it takes to write a written review. It's this enormous amount of time, and you do feel this. You have to justify everything, and my husband and I have gotten more into this kind of habit of saying, we didn't care for it. It's just not for us. It might be for you. Because everyone's tastes are different. I mean, this hobby is so subjective, right? Mm-hmm. That, again, just because, Jason really hated Witches of the Revolution, maybe there's someone out there that... I'm doing a faraway, gesture over here, that would really love it. Mm-hmm. Whatever. I keep saying different strokes for different folks. And that's how I'm, in my own life, I'm trying to make it a little more, like, positive instead of, like, dumping all the time, because it's negative energy, too.
Yeah, so, I guess the point being, I really, like, I love interacting with the community. It really does frustrate me a lot when people who are posting, and talking stuff about reviewers, talking, I trust this person, I don't trust that person, and I don't trust this person because they always do positive reviews. That drives me nuts. Like, I mean, because listen to the reviewer. Like, I mean, maybe, just because they have something positive to say, or it's always positive, like, listen to them, make sure they're actually giving you value, make sure they're explaining why they like them. That whole dismissive thing, it just drives me absolutely insane. Talk about, like, getting my energy up to talk about bad stuff. I mean, there you go. Yeah. Bad commenters. I will trash a bad commenter before I trash a bad game. So.
Yeah. Have you guys gotten your shrill comment?
Not personally, but
okay.
Like,
that's good.
Yeah, we're not big enough. There are bigger targets. Like, I feel bad for, like, Mandy and Suzanne, for example. Like, they, on the regular Dice Tower channel, they review a ton of games, and they're doing it basically professionally at this point. And they get a lot of flack for being like, too uber super positive and everything. And, like I mentioned before, Undead Viking, like I feel kind of an affinity for those folks. And as I kind of grow into the hobby more and more, I do want to kind of get to that level. Anthony, you're there too. Like you are, Board Gamers Anonymous was on this like geek list of notable reviewers in your top 10, 20 games. Don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I did. That was great.
Yeah.
We actually saw it while we were recording the other night because we were doing research. We're like, whoa.
Yeah, wow. So that's cool. You want to be.
Nice.
It's very cool. To get that visibility, and the downside is you expose yourself to these kind of claims of bias. So I guess this is kind of our way of getting the message out there that like we don't just emphasize the positive because we want to make relationships or because we want to get free games or become whatever. That stuff is like nice, but really it's about being sustainable, being positive. Like Jen was saying, that was beautiful. Like you just want that positivity to feed you, because that just eventually it makes it for a better podcast. It makes for a better product. It makes for a more enthusiastic product, and it makes for, it makes both Anthony and I want to, deliver the best podcast possible. So there you go. That's why we don't do too many bad games, even though we will grant that the occasional bad review might be entertaining.
Well, yeah, it's still, if you're going to do it, it's still fun to do. It's just getting to that point is the hard part. So, all right, guys. So that's going to go and wrap everything up for this week, I think. We'll go be back to our regularly scheduled, more positive programming next week. Jen, thanks again for coming on, especially 2 episodes in a row.
I'm a champ. No.
Yeah.
No.
You just injured your shoulder, patting yourself on the back.
No. You guys are awesome. We play most every Thursday night with Jason. So it's fun being able to interact, and share some librarian wisdom. But thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jen.
Awesome. So, guys, that's everything for this week. Make sure you hit us up on all the usual places, on Twitter at ENGN_podcast, on our website, everynightisgamenight.com, and then on Facebook, either in the solo gaming group or on the Board Gamers Anonymous page. We are all over the place. Shoot us a message. Let us know what you think, and we'll be sure to follow up. But until next time, that's going to go ahead and be everything. So go ahead and grab a solo game off the shelf, and let's make every night game night.
Later, everybody.
Yeah, I had a thought bubble.
You look like in a thought bubble. I kind of set you up for it.
I did. I think it poofed. Oh man, we can totally edit that out. But the thought bubble was okay. So I work full time. You work full time. Anthony works full time. Right? I don't know you that well. You work full time. Yeah.
Yes, I do.
He works way more than he owns his own business.
Oh man,
he's always in the hustle.
Wait, are you a full-time carpenter? Is that what you do for a living?
No. I'm
Okay.
on the computer all day.
We'll edit this out. You're what?
I'm a marketing guy, so I'm on computer all day.
Oh, gee, so you do this stuff all day long.